Please welcome your host, Dion Taylor.
Hey guys, Dion Taylor here. So in this episode, I am going to be talking about a new way of how to create topics in Copilot Studio. So before, we were able to create these topics by using a lot of different nodes, right? We can have question nodes, and then we can have message nodes, and by configuring all of those, we would actually end up sometimes with a very, very long topic. So the feature that I'm going to be talking about today is the ability to use inputs and outputs inside of a topic. This means that we will no longer need to create all of those questions because AI will actually generate the questions for us. Let's go ahead and take a look. So in order to show you the difference between the legacy topic and the ability that we now have by using inputs and outputs in topics, let me first show you what those legacy topics, if that's even the right word, what that looked like, right? So we had a trigger here, then we have messages here, we have questions here, right? More questions here, and then we can also do some additional configuration, right? So if I'm saying here, I'm going to go into my properties, I'm going to do entity recognition. For example, this one, right? If we have less than 11 and greater than 0, if that condition is not met, then we're going to say something, right? Although our portions are huge, our dining room is small, we can only accommodate up to 10 people, right? So there was a lot of configuration that we could do here, right? Setting values here. But as you can see, these are a lot of different questions and messages, etc. And that's really where you're going to see a big difference while we're now going to be able to use inputs and outputs in topics. So I'm going to switch over to another agent and I'm going to show you how we can configure that, because also the difference that you'll see here is that this trigger is actually looking at phrases, right? And if I go here into, if I go here into settings and in generative AI, you can see this is now set to be a classic Copilot or agent or whatever we want to call it. So I'm going to switch over to another Copilot or agent. I keep mixing up the names here. And that one is actually going to be set to the generative AI setting, because we'll need that in order to use those inputs and outputs in topics. Okay, so I just switched over to my reservation helper agent. And if I go here to settings and then generative AI, you notice here that I enabled the generative AI, which is currently in preview. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And then I'm going to go to topics. And then you'll notice here is my reservation with in out. So what that means is that I actually already configured a topic with those inputs and outputs in that topic. And as you can see here, there's not a lot here, right? We just have our trigger, we have a description of that, and you'll notice that it's triggered by Copilot because I'm using that generative setting, right, for that Copilot, which I just showed you. And then here we have a message with just the reservation confirmation. So not a lot of stuff in here. Now, let me first show you what this looks like, right? What the end result is. You can see here, I have my conversation map on, so I can kind of see what is happening, which variables, but which data is stored in the variables and which topic it's grabbing. So I'm going to say, I want to reserve a table, and let's just see what's happening now. And it should now kick off, find that right topic. Let's just give it a second here. And as you can see, it's now grabbing that restaurant reservation with in out, right? It was picked by GPT, as you can see. Then I can also see my inputs and my outputs here. So first thing, it's going to ask me how many people will be included in the reservation. And I'm going to say we will have 20 people. And what it will do now, right? Same thing as in the legacy topic, although our portions are huge, our dining room is small, we can only accommodate up to 10 people. So, okay, then do 9. So you'll notice now that the party size is set to 9. Now I'm going to show you something that we couldn't do before. Please change the party size to 7. And look at that, it's actually updating the answer to that question and therefore storing number 7 in that party size variable. So now it needs a date and time. So I'm going to say September 5th, 2023. Hopefully it's going to now say, yep, we have not mastered the art of time travel yet. Please select a day in the future. So I'm going to say December 11, 2024. And it is now actually taking that date. What name should the reservation be under? Let's just say Taylor. And then it's going to ask me for an email address as well. So I'm going to say dion123@gmail.com. And now what it should do is give me that output. There we go. Your reservation for 7 people on December 11th, 2024 under the name Taylor has been successfully made. A confirmation email has been sent to the email address that I just entered. So how cool is that, right? Now let's take a look on how we can actually build that topic with those inputs and those outputs. So I'm going to go here to topics. And this is the one that I've built before. But what I want to do is I want to go ahead and turn that off. And then I'm going to build a new one. So let me just go ahead and click here, add a topic from blank. And you can see here it already says triggered by Copilot, right? So the first thing we want to do here is we want to describe what exactly this topic does. So I'm going to put in here, this topic is used for customers to make a reservation at our restaurant. And you saw earlier, right? I did not have any questions. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to click here on details and I'm going to close my test Copilot here. And you notice here that we now have details about that topic, right? We can put a description here. We can put a model display name in here as well. So let's just go ahead and say the same thing. This topic is used for customers to make a reservation at our restaurant. I'm going to say reservation. And you can kind of see what this says, right? This helps the AI determine when to use this topic, right? So you can already kind of see, oh, I already put this in there. That's why it's not, it's giving me this error. So I'm going to say restaurant reservation. There you go. And what I'm going to do now is, here is our name, right? So I'm going to say reservation in/out 2. That's the name. And then we're going to go and start entering our topic. So what we'll do here is, again, we will not have to put in questions, but we're going to create those variables and then we're going to describe what those are for. So the first thing that, let's just go ahead and start with the name, right? And this is going to be the name of the person that's making that reservation. So let's go ahead and put that in there. What I'm going to say here is I'm going to describe, right, what this particular variable, what type of information it is going to be capturing. So this is the name the reservation should be on there. And then you can also see here, right, this is my display name. How do I want to identify that? I just want to use the entire response because the slot filling capabilities will already be part of this. So I don't really have to set that entity here, right? So that's kind of what we're doing here. And if you want additional settings, right? So for example, you want retry prompts or additional entity validation, which I'm going to get into in a second. All of that can be configured here. Now, this is our name variable, very, very simple. Let's go ahead and create another variable. So let's say, right, we were asking about the party size. So I'm going to say party size, and we can just go ahead and again allow it to fill it with the best option. But this is going to be a number, right? So I want to make sure that we're actually capturing the correct number of people that we're looking for. Again, I'm going to go ahead and put in here what we're looking for. So in the description, I'm going to put the total number of people that are included in this reservation. But now I do want to add additional entity validation in here, right? And what we're doing here is basically saying that they have to give us a number between 1 and 10, right? Because 10 is the maximum number of people that we can add here. So I'm going to say our condition is that the party size, right, it needs to be greater, or I can say greater than or equal to, I can say greater than 0. It needs to be more than 0 people. But we also want that party size to be less than 11 because it's between, right, 1 and 10. So the condition not met prompt is that if it's anything that is not, right, is not 1 through 10, then I want you to actually create a message. And you can see here we cannot dynamically generate a message. We have to actually create the message ourselves. So what I'm going to say here is, although our portions are huge, right, our dining room is small, we can only accommodate up to 10 people. So that logic that we did in the legacy topics, right, when we're configuring all of those questions, we can do that in here as well, which is really, really cool. So that's how you're going to do that, right? So now we have the name variable, we have the party size variable. Let's add another one. And the next one is going to be the reservation date. So I'm going to go ahead and call this reservation date. And this is obviously the date of that reservation, right? When do we want to come by for that reservation? And what we want to do here, again, this is going to be a date or a date time, right? I'm going to do date here. And you can see here that it also identifies it now as a date in here as well when I set that variable data type. And then I can do some additional settings in here as well, right? So again, if I'm going to do additional settings, I'm going to do that condition, right? So I'm going to say reservation date, and then I want to say is greater than, and what I want to do in here is I want to put in a formula, PowerFX formula. So I'm going to say date time value, oops, and then I'm going to do now, there you go. So here I'm restricting it, right, that it has to be greater than today. So if anybody puts in a particular date that's in the past, then I'm going to get that error message. And my error message is going to be, there we go, we haven't mastered the art of time travel yet. Please select a date in the future. So again, you can do all sorts of things here, right, with that PowerFX. All right, so this looks good to me. Reservation date is good. And then lastly, what I want to put in here is an email address. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the email address. And I can put in here also, right, what exactly is this? Because this is so that we can improve that slot filling, the capabilities, right? Here's my email address. I can just go ahead and keep that as a string. And we want to make sure that we also call this email, right, for that variable so that we understand what we're doing here. All right, so now we have all of our inputs. Let's now configure an output. So I'm going to create another variable. And I'm going to call that confirmation or reservation confirmation. And my description is that this is the reservation confirmations for the customer, and we're going to include details such as the name the reservation is under, the reservation date, the party size, and the email address. And it's the only variable I'm going to put in here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a message, because after the customer has answered the questions, I want to actually send that confirmation, right? So that's what I'm doing over here. And then lastly, I can now go ahead and end my current topic. And that's really all that we had to do. We can now go ahead and save our variable, or I should say our topics, right? Our reservation in/out topic. And then we can do the same thing you saw me do earlier. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I am super excited about this. You really were able to see that this is going to speed up things a lot, right? Because we won't have to configure those questions anymore. AI will do that for us. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss another video again. Thanks for watching. Until next time.